Kia ora everyone, and welcome to this New Zealand Festival Writers' Week session with Mallory Ortberg and Jamie Curry. My name is Lizzie Marvelly, and I'm excited to be here today to talk with these two young women who are blazing their own trails both online and in print. Before we get started, could you please all take a moment to just check that your phones are either off or on silent? If any phone does ring during this session, I'm going to make you come up here and do an interpretive dance to your ringtone, so you've been warned. But my phone is going to go off because I've got to keep some time for some questions from you guys. On behalf of the New Zealand Festival, I would like to thank the Lion Foundation, Victoria University of Wellington, Creative New Zealand, QT Museum Wellington, Unity Books and the New Zealand Book Council for their support of this session in particular. Let's give them a clap. Now I'm sure most of you know these two probably even better than I do, but to just quickly bring anyone up to speed who's not already, Mallory Ortberg is co-founder of the feminist website The Toast. She graduated with an English degree and has used this knowledge to hilarious effect in her writing. Her first book, Text from Jane Eyre, was released at the end of 2014, and it's a really good read if you haven't read it already. Jamie Curry is a YouTube star with millions of followers and years of creating off-the-wall online comedy under her belt. She recently released a book called They Let Me Write a Book, which was co-written with an incredible young female writer, the spin-off's Alex Casey. Having these two young women together is so rare and special, so I'm going to shut up now and let you hear from them. So Mallory, Jamie, good morning. Morning.
Well, hi.
How exciting is this?
Very.
So Mallory, is this your first time in New Zealand?
It is.
Have you enjoyed it?
It's great.
She has to say that, right? How do we know whether she's telling the truth? So this is going to reveal that I'm totally been stalking you on Twitter, but have you seen the Southern Cross yet?
No, and honestly, like, I probably can't curse on the stage real bad, but I would like to. Yeah, I come on this way. You guys have different stars than we have. I would appreciate seeing a new star. I'm sick of all the stars I look at when I'm home.
Yeah, so boring.
If I ever see Orion again, I'm going to just go nuts. No, and I see nothing because it's cloudy all the time.
I know, right? Well, you are in Wellington.
I would like to see some new stars, please. I have 3 days left to make it happen.
Okay, you guys will need to try and make that happen. I have no idea how, but anyway. And Jamie, do you get to Wellington much?
Yeah, I was here like 2 weeks ago.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
It's always nice to be here. So my first question, and if you guys in the audience have any questions during this session, just hold on to them because we'll have some time at the end for you to ask some questions. So for both of you, what inspired you to start your online careers? Mallory, what inspired you to start Toast?
What inspired me to start The Toast was the fact that we got money to start The Toast.
Amazing.
I worked a couple of other jobs before I started The Toast, including a job that I very much did not like, but that very much paid the bills, so I couldn't hate it that much. And Nicole, my business partner, and I have been talking for a long time about, wouldn't it be cool if we started something together? Yeah, that'd be really cool. What are you going to do today instead of that? And then after a while, we were sort of talking about, some friends of ours started a site called The All, that was sort of our inspiration in a lot of ways. They were talking in an interview about how relatively easy it had been. And how it hadn't taken that much money. And then Nicole said, you know, I have that much money. And I said, well, I would be willing to let you spend that much money. And that was our inspiration.
Amazing.
End of story.
Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, if you've got the resources, right, then it's such a cool site.
Apparently we did.
Yeah. If you guys, if you need to check out The Toast if you haven't already, it's really funny.
It's on the internet. So.
Yeah, it is. We all know how to get on there. So when did you start it?
We started it back in, I want to say July 1st of 2013, but the very first day that we launched, we had a really nasty DDoS attack, and so we were down after about 30 minutes. It was totally random. It was just like, we're up. No, we are not. So we relaunched again the next day, so since July 2nd, 2013. So we're coming up on our 3rd anniversary.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Which in the internet is very old.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an impressive achievement. And Jamie? What inspired you to start making videos?
My friends kind of thought I was a bit of an idiot, and they wanted me to like make photos, like the memes and the videos, like for them. And so I was like, no. And then they kind of just bullied me into doing it.
Don't bully kids, it's not good.
Yeah, don't bully people, but they might be successful, so no, don't bully. Yeah, and so then this is going so great. No, and then I just started like making more videos, and then just like random people I didn't know started watching them, so then I just continued, and now I'm here.
Yeah, cool. And when did you realize that this kind of hobby could be a career?
was like, what? So I was like, okay. And then it wasn't until I sort of got an agent and they were like, no, we can really do something with this. I was like, okay. And then that's kind of how it happened. It's not really like a great story.
I really appreciate how both of our business plans are sort of like, you do not have to be a driven person.
Yeah, it just happens. Accidents happen.
Get on YouTube and make crazy videos, right?
Yeah.
No, it's cool. And I mean, I love your videos. You're just so kind of real and authentic. I think it's
Funny.
really, yeah, it's awesome. So, you both forged your own paths. But did you ever feel, like I remember when I was at school, I felt quite pressured to like go to uni and get a really good job and all the rest of it. Did you ever feel pressured to do something that's like sensible?
All the time. Still, Mum's like, hey, when are you going to get a real job? I think at high school it was hard because like YouTube, like the internet is kind of like a weird career, like in New Zealand, like in the past couple of years we've come a long way.
Yeah.
But just trying to like tell my high school teachers like, I've got to go to Sydney for this meeting. They're like, no, you've got to do this. You've got to be at school. Yeah, and I was like, this is my job. So that was hard. Like my last year of high school was very difficult.
Yeah, I bet.
But I pushed through. I got like 2 credits.
She
So.
survived. And you, Mallory?
Well, I did go to college and get a job, so
So you did that too.
I did it. I mean, I didn't go to a great college. I didn't have an excellent job, but I did it. And I mean, it was fine. I very much did not have the experience where I knew from like a super young age, like I'm going to be a writer and I'm going to do this and like come what may, and I'm happy to eat garbage and live in like a pterodactyl's nest. Just go. You know,
so you'll
like
think that when we're young, right?
well, I didn't. Like I felt, I graduated into like a horrible recession. I was not like, thank God I don't have to have a job. I was like, someone please hire me. So the risk that I took when we started the Toast was sort of a series of small risks. Like I was writing a lot on the side. I was writing for free for a while. I eventually started charging. I was writing for better places. I was writing more. You know, I never quit my job without having a sense of where my next check was coming from.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a way to balance risk with practicality, and I think that's a good idea, because
I agree.
had I, and it's different for everybody, of course, but like I was not ready at a young age to do what I'm doing now. Like had I quit and just tried to write, it would have ended up in a pterodactyl nest, and it would have been really upsetting.
Well, I'm glad that didn't happen.
So what did you actually think you would be when you were a kid?
I mean,
I thought I'd be a dolphin trainer. Just going to put that.
have you ever trained a dolphin?
Never.
Have you ever touched a dolphin?
I have touched a dolphin. But then, I really loved it when I was like...
Appropriately, obviously.
Yeah, appropriately. It was a fully
Sorry,
consensual
I
touching of the
realized I
dolphin.
asked it in an upsetting way.
I did not violate the dolphin?
Fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, mostly when I was a little kid, I thought about like, I wonder like if I have chips in my lunch today. Chips in a bag, like our chips. Usually the answer was no. Which is sucks. And that's, if you've experienced enough pain, you can overcome it.
The truth. And Jamie?
I wanted to be a garbage man.
I read this in your book.
Yeah.
So tell you got to tell us more.
My mum, when she used to walk me in the pram, I used to be fascinated with these like garbage men. Like how they could wear no seatbelts and like jump onto the back of the car.
So much freedom.
I was like, they're like running. I was like, yeah, this is so cool. I want to do that. And then I was fascinated with them until I was like 5.
Wow.
And then like at school, like I'd be like, I want to be a garbage man. And my teacher was like, can I have a phone call with your mother? But
hilarious. So, what's the best part of what you do?
I think for me, like meeting the people that like watch my videos is like so cool. That's like a big part of like basically my job is to like we tour and do like meet and greets.
Yeah, cool.
And like when people come up to you and they're like, oh, like I was going through a tough time at school. I was in hospital for like 4 months and your videos like kept me entertained. Like that is like my favorite part.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so that's, and traveling.
Yeah,
Travel's definitely the best parts. Yeah.
totally. And you, Mallory?
Honestly, I would say job security.
Yeah.
Like, there's no guarantee, especially if you're interested in writing, that you're going to be able to make a living at it, much less do it full time, much less, obviously there are ways in which I have a less secure job than if I worked at like a really traditional company and had a contract. But there are ways in which I'm pretty sure that for at least the next year or two, I know where my money's coming from, and that's huge for me. That was never a guarantee. That was never something that I was counting on. So, and I'm really prepared for it to go away. Like, it's the internet, right?
Yeah.
Like, everything changes every 5 years. Everything goes away. And I'm really prepared for, like, if in 5 years or 3 years the ride's over and I have to just, like, go get a job and be, like, the funny guy in your marketing department. I can definitely do that.
employ you if I had a
I appreciate that. No, but I can definitely, like, you know, I think sometimes the sort of feel you'll get when people talk about working in a creative job, right, is like, day jobs are the enemy, and, like, never have one, and the worst thing that could happen to you is, like, constant stable employment. Which I don't think is the worst thing that can happen to you. I can think of a lot of worse things. So I feel a real sense of, like, I'm very happy I get to do what I do. I also understand that it might not go like this forever. And I feel really ready for anything that comes next. And I feel grateful that at least for the next year to probably get to keep doing this.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I mean, as a musician and as a writer, I totally.
You still have to show us that music video later. About
I hope she'd forget
She
about
told
this,
us
but
backstage that she filmed a music video where she was driving a Camaro and chasing a train.
yeah.
And I'm gonna make her show it to us
Yeah.
later.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. So, what is the worst part of what you do?
Ooh, I don't know. I haven't discovered a worst part yet. Probably just like being judged on everything I do. Because like I've kind of grown up on the internet from like 15 to now like 19.
Yeah.
Like if I get a haircut, they're like, your haircut sucks. Like I'm like, okay, so
Okay, random
go
instance.
get a new haircut. Yeah. And especially because a lot of them are like younger, they don't see me as a person. Like they're like, oh, she's this person. Like she won't see this comic. I see everything.
Yeah.
So when you're like judging me, I'm trying to fix me, but then people are like, no, that's still not right. So then I've sort of got to the point where I'm like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
but that's probably the worst part. I went through a phase where I was really quite like, what is wrong with me? Why is everyone like picking me apart? But then I just got more comfortable with myself.
Self-love, everyone.
Love yourself.
Probably two things. One of which is sort of boring, but it is what it is. Having bought my own health insurance.
So yeah, because they don't have free.
We do not.
health.
We don't have it even a little bit. So for the first 2 years that I did the site, I just didn't have health insurance, which, I just sort of like, I hope
They
I
didn't get
stay
hit by
well.
us.
Yeah, they didn't. And
Yeah.
I'm very grateful I was able to take that risk. I'm very aware not everyone has the ability to go without health insurance
Yeah.
and hope for the best. So in some ways, I was lucky to be able to forego it at all. But like I pay for it now out of pocket, and it's quite a lot of money. And it's weird that health insurance is so tied to employment in the place where I live. It's not my favorite. And then the other thing I think is just the pace. I definitely work well, creating a lot of stuff a day, but like I have, 3 times a day deadline for the toast, and 4 times a week deadline for the column at Slate, and,
Yeah.
and I have the book coming up. And it's a lot, and it's definitely a lot. And I really enjoy it in a lot of ways, but there are definitely days when I wish I did not have to write something.
Yeah. Are you ever like, oh man, what am I gonna write about?
I'd say at once the financial quarter, I'll be like, oh no, I've had all my ideas. I just had them all. They're done.
That's gone.
I'm finished. Usually that passes, and that's good. And this is not something that, like, I don't wake up in the morning feeling like, oh, this is a real grind. I just mean that, like, occasionally there are moments when it feels like, man, it's hard to phone it in when I have to write a lot of, I can't just throw up a link to something.
Yeah.
I have to write something,
Yeah.
even if it's just like,
Yeah.
man, look at this painting. She looks upset. It's hilarious. But yeah, that's a small-ish problem to have.
Yeah,
It's a good problem to have.
Totally. And actually,
And now I can afford to get as sick as I want. That is not true. My health insurance is not that good. I can afford to get moderately ill.
like the luxury. Oh my goodness. That is so mind-boggling though. I mean, we walk out and get hit by a bus and the government's gonna fix us.
I don't know how that works, so I don't even know if I have health insurance.
You don't need it. You're a New Zealander. You
Oh.
got a free health system.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's sweet. You're covered.
That's so upsetting. If I got hit by a bus while I was here, would the government?
Yeah.
don't know.
We'd fix you.
I mean, I don't want to
get
get hit by a bus, but yeah, no, I can't afford to get hit by a bus right now.
Yeah,
I'll
just
say
no
that.
one panic.
I can't, I'm not bus accident rich,
trying to avoid the question, but of course he's like, no, we're going back to the question. Could you afford this? Could you afford this? That's like the worst question. Like, who asked that? Like, that's so rude.
It is rude, right?
But he's Paul Henry, so it was funny, but anyone else would have been like,
You're a dick.
yeah. That is like the worst question. I hate that question.
I don't know that I've been asked a lot of bad questions, but I also don't get interviewed like so frequently that it's like, oh, if I get asked this question again, I'm just gonna like turn into a bird and fly away. So I guess I don't really have an answer to your question. I'm sorry, but you're doing great.
Thank you.
You're asking terrific questions.
Thank you.
Your hair looks fantastic. I like your shoes. You have kind of a cool crushed velvet thing going on before they get to the toe. You're doing terrific.
I love this. I'm going to go back. This is so cool. This is my first session I've ever chaired, by the way.
And you look like you're awesome at it.
Thank you. I just love this. This is a self-love session. It's awesome. So, right, where am I at? So, I think it's really awesome on the toast that you combine humor with feminism. So, when did you first realize that you were a feminist?
I always, like, I've been asked that a lot while I've been down, like, in Australia and New Zealand. I always think that's funny, like, how do you plan in the morning to combine humor with feminism? The same way I combine, like, having lunch with breathing. Like, I don't know. They're just two things I do sometimes. You know, I think lots of different moments in my life, like, my parents are both, I would say, like, pretty strong feminists in really wonderful ways. So that was always something that I kind of understood was an important part of being a thoughtful person who engages with the world. I certainly remember having moments where I sort of hate the idea of the first moment you realize you're a feminist has to be this really negative moment where you encounter sexism. I think it was more, not that that's bad, just I like the idea of, I remember seeing my parents kind of figure out together like what was their work-life balance going to be and how were they going to work to support like my mother's career in a way that wasn't necessarily like, oh, default, she'll do this. Like, it was sort of like, oh, we have to plan this out. So I think seeing that modeled for me, seeing my mom have a job that she absolutely loved and sometimes saying like, well, I'm not going to get home when you get home from school, so like someone else is going to have to pick up the slack, and just seeing this way in which they both were really like, we're not going to just do the default. So probably that.
I think that's amazing, and it's, you know, it's so kind of simple and like normal, but also kind of revolutionary.
Definitely, you know, there's different ways I think everybody kind of comes to it, and there's absolutely flaws and limitations to it, but that was a really helpful, albeit like super heteronormative way of seeing things.
Yeah, totally.
My parents are heteronormative, like I can't.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's great. Like if you're going to be heteronormative, do it like that.
Yeah, exactly. And Jamie, I know you're a feminist, because when I interviewed you last year for the list, we were talking about that. So did you have a moment when you realized you were a feminist, or was it more kind of just...
Yeah, I don't think there was a point that I was like, yeah, okay, this is what I'm going to make today.
I'm going to sign it.
Sign it. I'm done. Like,
someone sent me like my card, my feminist card.
No, but I think like I've always been like, why can't girls just do the same thing as boys? Like, I remember telling my dad like, I want to be a professional like soccer player, and I want to go overseas, and he was like, you're not going to get paid a lot for that. I was like, why not? Like all the boys are doing it. He was like, because you're a girl. And then that's when I was really like, what? And it's like, that's not fair.
Can't be a garbage man.
I know,
right?
I know. So, but then, like, I mean, obviously that's like on a little kid scale. And then, like, obviously in the past, like, 2 years, it's been really, like online, like, people are very, like, voicing, like, feminism. So then, obviously I have, like, quite a young female audience. So I was like, why don't I do something about it? Like, why don't I voice what is important?
Yeah.
I will say this, when I was like 10 or 11, I was reading something about like how a girl wanted to grow up to like join the NFL, and somebody was saying like very kindly to her, like that's probably not going to happen. And I remember saying to my mother, like, that's so offensive, like of course women are just as strong as men. And she'd be like, well, like as a group, like sometimes men do have more like upper body strength, and I like hadn't yet picked up on that, and I was like, what do you mean? Like, as a group, men are slightly taller? Like I was curious. I was like, I had no idea. This is a shock to me. And she was like, not every man and every woman, but like as a group, they get a little taller. Yeah, I was very upset.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, it's that moment when you kind of realize, because I think when you are kind of kids at primary school, there isn't really a difference, right? And it's only kind of when you get a little bit older and start like teenagers, maybe that it starts to be kind of divided. So I can see how you would be like, yeah, I'm going to be a soccer player and what?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And he was confused when I like couldn't be.
Yeah, totally. So this is kind of being on from this question. Do you ever encounter sexism now, and how do you deal with it?
Yes, all the time. Like like there are so many other like male YouTubers that are like they'll do their videos shirtless or like, which is fine, like they can do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like pretty like PC with how I dress, like this is just how I dress. And I had a shirt that kind of sat just like a little bit low, and like yes, I have boobs, like and I wear a bra, and you can see just like my bra, and like there were like people commenting like, oh, she's turned like slutty now, you can see her bra. I was like, are you serious? Like, what are you doing? Like, how can you say that when there's like guys on there like completely shirtless, which once again is fine, and I can't just show like a little bit of my bra. Like, so now like you notice all my like videos I wear like shirts, like yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy because you should be able to wear what you want to wear.
Yeah, I should be able to do it naked.
Okay, if you feel empowered, cool.
No, but I don't remember that. That was like the first time that I was like, are you serious? Because I've never been like, I have boobs, like they're a thing.
Yeah, right? I mean, like, half the population has boobs. Why is this such a big deal?
Yeah, so I don't know, that was just one of the things that I found.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so there's absolutely ways in which, you know, one will run up against sexism online, like once or twice.
Really?
I do think one of the ways in which things are a little bit different for me is you know, Nicole and I both run the toast. So I would say we more often spend time talking about and considering ways in which, as like middle-class white American women, there are ways in which we are privileged over other kinds of women.
Yeah.
Trying to like be conscious.
Personality.
That's the word that people use. Yes, I was like, I know that word. So there's like, certainly like some sexism, but I would say in more ways, like we'll try to talk about and be conscious of ways in which we're not trying to just talk about like a white woman's experience in a way that's like everyone experiences this. We're all like this.
Which historically has happened.
Yeah, but this is the most important thing facing feminism. So I would say that there are more ways in which we spend a lot of time thinking about like intersectional feminism than we do about like the sexism we ourselves are facing, which is in some ways really limited by the fact that we own our own site. Like, I don't have to talk to a man all day.
Yeah.
Like I don't usually. The guys who show up on the toast are usually like very well behaved. They know like
They know what kind of space they're in, right?
yeah, they know like they can be quiet and like it's great and like I think it's always wonderful then to like cultivate a little silence. Like it's just a good thing. It's just a great thing to get in the habit of, and it's nice that we can offer them that space where they can like, you know, practice shutting up a little.
Yeah, totally.
It's just like a good mantra to have. It's just like cultivate shutting up. Like we can all learn something from that. Like sometimes I need to cultivate shutting up.
Yeah, sometimes we all do.
Sure. So
Yeah.
I get to tell them what to do. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So do
They
you
love it.
Yeah, they totally would love it, right?
Guys love it when I tell them what to do.
Do you have a favorite feminist icon?
Yes, but I won't tell you.
Why not?
I actually couldn't think of one right away, and that's the
Right.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's lots of like women that I admire, and lots of people who would have described themselves as feminists, and lots of women who are icons. And I'm trying to think of like somebody who really exemplifies all of those things.
Like Beyonce or Gloria Steinem or...
Those are two very different people. Which is not to say that
Anyone can be a feminist, right?
I mean, not like a bird. I would find that inappropriate.
I don't know if I'm going to talk to them, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, probably anyone can. You know, I would say like when it comes to somebody who sort of balances all the things that I think are really appropriate, like Ivy Wells, would definitely be an example. I'm trying to think of someone alive because that would also be a helpful person.
I haven't think, well, that's going to be
Yeah, you go now.
Jamie's like, oh, on the spot.
Give me another icon.
Oh, because I like obviously like him. I like Miley Cyrus. I like all those super extreme.
Yeah.
I think like she never tears anyone else down. Like she's always empowering other like women on the internet. Like never like body shaming, slut shaming, whatever. I just like that. Although like I wouldn't stand up in front of a crowd with a phone finger and do things with it. But I like her kind of attitude and just her empowering.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, I got asked about Miley in interviews for a long time. It was just the most ridiculous thing because here is Miley just being Miley.
Yeah.
And like, you know, trying to shine a light on like homeless youth and LGBT youth, and I think that's so cool. So she's a great example.
That's really interesting because in America, I don't know if this conversation as reached her as much. There's been a lot of conversation around the ways in which Miley appropriates the dress and the dance styles of black women.
Yeah.
And in fact, there was sort of an important conversation recently where she kind of went after Nicki Minaj.
That's
in a way
right,
that a lot of
yeah.
people felt like was sort of your classic, like, white feminism.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like feminism by a white person, I mean like that's sort of like mainstream, like white people's concerns are the most important.
Yeah.
And I felt like, of course she's like a really young person, she's figuring stuff out. I don't mean like she
And the
can't
same
be
thing with
that.
Taylor Swift, right?
Yeah, but just like ways in which it was clear that it was hard for her to hear from a black woman, like, actually, like, you're not helping me right now. You're tearing me down.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of an interesting addition to that
Yeah,
picture.
absolutely. And I think that's really important, you know, that you can be doing great things, but also completely missing one side of the argument.
I mean, I miss things all the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm just worried that we're kind of running
Ina
out of
Garten.
time here.
Ina Garten, the barefoot Contessa.
Oh yeah, totally.
She's always wearing those great shirts
Yeah.
that she has tailor-made. You guys know the barefoot Contessa? Yeah, she's always just like, I live in this massive house that's like built out of just joy and reclaimed wood. And I see my husband twice a month, and all I do in between is like bake bread. She's so wonderful. She's just so happy. She reminds me of like David the Gnome. In like her life.
Yeah.
That's why they're
Totally. So, okay, what is the weirdest thing a fan has ever asked you?
If they could smell me. No, but then like the worst part was they like got mad because they were like, you don't smell like anything. So now every time I do a meeting read, I'm like, perfect.
I'm not mad at you for the way you smell.
Yeah, it's like they obviously like wanted me to have like
A Jamie
smell.
So I guess this means you said yes, you can smell me.
Yeah, well you can't be like, no, because then like it's so like they
No, you actually can't smell me because
We're
that's
just-
really weird.
We're literally just puppets, and we just stand there and they ask to do stuff, and we say okay,
Yay!
to like a certain extent, I guess. But yeah, that was definitely
That's pretty weird. Yeah, totally, Mallory.
No one has ever asked to smell me. And I think it's
Probably count your blessings there.
it's different. I think as a writer, there's less of a sense of I get recognized much less often. There's much less of a sense of, oh, you and I have an established relationship because I see your face a lot. So the handful of times I've gotten to meet people who enjoyed my work, it was not like I don't get recognized. It's usually like at an event like this, and someone says like, I really like your book, and I say thank you, and that's sort of the end of our interaction.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll say like, I like your sweater, and they'll say like, thank you, it's from wherever they got their sweater, and then neither of us smell each other.
Just kind of how it should be, right?
I think that's the ideal way to get along.
Absolutely. So actually, speaking about your book, how did you choose the characters? So Text from Jane Eyre is this amazing kind of collection of characters throughout the literary canon, from Jane Eyre to Ron Weasley, Sweet Valley High, all those kind of books. How did you choose them?
So part of it was just based on the stuff that I'd kind of grown up reading, right? Which was the very like, in addition to a lot of other stuff, the very standard Western canon. So I had a lot of jokes that I wanted to make about Medea, and I was just like, I hope enough people remember their Euripides, because here it comes. And like, luckily enough people have that they were like, yeah, Jason can suck it. And I don't know, it was mostly books that I felt deeply familiar with, really fond of, really affectionately toward, and then also there was something that a particular character was doing or saying that everyone within the narrative sort of let them get away with without acknowledging, like, this is bananas that you're doing and saying this. So like to go back to Medea, just that she was like, well, remember how a minute ago I said I was going to destroy you forever for leaving me? Well, I've totally changed my mind. Here's a dress that's literally steaming with poison for your new wife to wear. Don't worry about it. Just put it on. And it's so like, and I understand, like, I'm familiar with the concept of Greek tragedy. Like, I understand that it's like, we're driven forward by the engine of fate. Nothing can be changed. But it's also really funny that no one was like,
so this,
we shouldn't trust you. Like, obviously, this dress is literally smoking from poison. Like, don't put it on. It's like, well, she says she's not mad anymore. All my skin is gone. Which I really love. Or like Mr. Rochester, who's just like, I will take you to the moon and I will breathe for you. She's just like, I don't think that's what love is. He's like, that's definitely what love is. Also, I made you a dress out of jewels, and you're gonna have to wear it forever.
You're so right. I mean, these propositions are just kind of mad, but no one really points it out.
I love looking at something that gets treated as like really grand and important and like tragic and sort of, And again, I think that's totally worthwhile. Like, I don't think any of these are like, this book is stupid or this thing this person is feeling is stupid.
Yeah.
I don't have any contempt for what they're going through.
Yeah.
But there's this sort of wonderful sense of, no one's laughing at this, and you should laugh at yourself a little bit more.
Absolutely.
I think it's very important to laugh at the things that feel very, very serious.
Yeah.
And so to sort of just be like, I really don't want to wear a dress made out of like the moon, and please stop trying to give that to me, because that's not how relationships work.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
And that's why the end of J.R. kind of works out. Like, it takes him getting set on fire, spoiler alert, to sort of realize, like, oh, you like shouldn't try to like live other people's lives. And he's sort of like, oh, okay, like I'll be calm now. We can just take walks and have a sun, and like that's fine.
Yeah, which is a good point, a good lesson to learn. And Jamie, what's your favorite video that you've made?
I usually don't like my videos. There's one that I think is so funny. I made my friends watch it, and they're sitting there like, this is so stupid, and I'm like saying, like, no, this part's really good, this part's really good. But that was, it's like this one where I'm like mountain biking down a mountain, and it's like this little tiny hill. And I don't know, I just think it's really funny.
I think it's good that you can make yourself laugh.
And it was fun to make, because it was totally just like, I said to my sister, here, have the camera, and I'm just going to kind of wing it. And that was fun.
Yeah, definitely. And
My stories are so boring, like I'm just an idiot.
no, I think like it's really cool that you actually do enjoy what you do. I think that's like the most important thing, right? And like, because you've got this series, Art History, on the Toast. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's like these amazing captions to this classic art, and I just die reading them. But what's your favorite piece of art that you've captioned?
I wish I could show you.
Yeah,
There's this wonderful, so the series I do is called Women in Western Art History, and it's this very specific look at like paintings from Western Europe from roughly the last like 400 years. And they always have these wonderful innocuous captions like afternoon tea or like listening to a band. And there's always like a guy really aggressively playing the lute or something. And the look on the woman's face is always this like. And after you see enough of them, you start to realize like this is not on purpose.
Yeah.
That's your alarm. I'll wrap up.
Yeah.
This is not on purpose. Like they thought that's what women looked like when they were listening.
Yeah. My listening face.
They just truly were like, that's the face women have. Like they didn't get it, which is really delightful. And there's this one of I think it's like Rococo. It's very like that sort of style. And it's this guy sitting on a bench with two women outdoors, and they're all dressed very like in that sort of like faux rustic, but with a lot of ribbons. And he's leaning forward, and he's reading very intensely out of this book of poetry. And the two women are just slightly leaning away with like frozen smiles on their face, just like. And the caption I gave was something like, oh Christ, he's gonna read another poem to us. Should we play dead? And it's like, no, that's bears. And just this idea that like, you know, in like 18th century France, like women couldn't leave the house without like roving poets like declaiming things like that. Just like, excuse me, I wrote a poem about like Rilke. Can you please sit down on this bench? And it's like, oh, I don't want to hear another pastoral poem about shepherdesses.
And now we get messages on Instagram, right?
I don't have Instagram, so.
Send nudes, like.
Yeah, now we get dick pics. Which is just, that's like next level. Anyway, sorry, I'm just gonna leave that there.